to develop a interaction modeling. We have seen in a class modeling how to name the class, how to create an attribute, how to um, give an association, how to iterate the model, how to refine a model by introducing a aggregation, inheritance, so advanced by using the advanced class modeling. These things we have discussed in a uh, domain analysis. Now we have a application analysis. In this application analysis, we are trying to identify the interaction modeling. When it comes for interaction modeling, we have three different categories of interaction modeling, right? One is a use case modeling, sequence, and a activity modeling. When we are trying to develop a system or when the problem statement has been identified, we need to identify scope and the boundary of the system. That means we need to limit ourselves to what extent that an application has to be built. Otherwise, what happens? The application which we are trying to develop, if it is too broad, we cannot identify what functionalities to be implemented. So we need to confine the requirements. We need to narrow down the requirements. So once the system is being narrowed down, next we are coming with respect to the application. We are dealing with the modeling. When it comes for application analysis, if we are trying to use a use case, in a use case what we are identifying, we need to try to identify who are the actors who are going to communicate with the system. First we need to identify the actors. Next we need to identify what are the different use cases, which use case is relevant, is associated to which actor. That has to be determined with respect to the use case modeling. Next thing is a sequence diagram. In a sequence diagram, what we need to identify, we need to determine the scenarios. So what is the scenarios? Scenarios are nothing but the sequence of events that are going to happen. To develop this sequence diagram, we need to have a help of a scenario. Using this scenario, we are trying to develop a sequence diagram by identifying the objects and by identifying the messages. Next thing is a activity diagram. So how the activity diagram can be prepared with the help of a use case diagram. If the use case diagram is very complex, then what we are taking, we are trying to take some of the components or some of the concepts from use case diagram, and from the use case diagram we are trying to prepare a activity diagram. Next is the steps in constructing the application model. When we say a application model, the first it comes with respect to the use case. Why we are trying to deal with the use case? Because the use case will represent the entire system and how the system is going to behave with respect to the external users. That's the reason we need to construct the application model with we need to use the help of a use case model. To develop a use case model or to model the use case diagram, we need to follow some of the steps. First thing is we need to determine the system boundary. That is, system boundary indicates what is the extent, till what extent the application should be developed. We are confining the features of the system that has to be specified. Next thing is find the actors. We need to identify who are the actors who are going to interact with the system. Okay, so in what way the users can be in what way the users are going to interact with the particular use case. Next thing is find the use cases. So how to determine the use cases? So the use case can be determined by with the help of functionalities and the features. So whatever the features that we have specified, with respect to that features,
Ma'am,
we are extracting the functionalities. Those functionalities
so
will be
ma'am,
represented. Yes,
ma'am, allow the students to join the class, ma'am.
yes, yes.
They're waiting. Ma'am, change the permission. Let them to.
What, Sunil?
They are waiting to join the class, ma'am.
Yeah, I have admitted.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, then what is the next step? The next step is we need to find the initial state and a final state. That is one of the thing. That is what is the initial process. From the initial process, what are the different states that the object is going to take, and how it reaches a final state, that has to be taken care. Next thing is prepare a normal scenario. So when it comes for a sequence diagram, we need to create a scenarios. We need to write it in a form of a sentence how the events are going to be executed. So the scenario is a very much necessary to represent a sequence diagram with any of the application. Next thing is add the variation and exceptions in a scenarios. That means whatever the exceptional conditions are there, we have taken a use case diagram with the for the system buying the beverages, right? When we are trying to buy the beverages, there can be exceptions, right? So either the stock may be closed or there can be no changes, and the transaction may be cancelled, right? So we need to identify where the exceptions can arise. So those things has to be represented in the model itself, so that it will help the developer to indicate those exceptions while implementing with respect to any programming languages. Next is find the external events. That means what are the events that are happening outside the system, how it is going to give an impact over a application, that we need to identify with respect to an external event. And the next thing is we need to prepare an activity diagram for complex use cases. That means we need to identify what is the type of a use case. So if the use case is very typical and it indicates very difficult to understand by the end user, in that case what the user has to do, he has to prepare an activity diagram. So how the activity diagram may help for the end user? Anyone? How the activity diagram can help the end user or any stakeholders who are involved in development of a application? Diksha? Diksha?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, when I call any name, any student name, you are supposed to unmute and answer. Is it clear? Everyone in a class. Okay. So how does this activity diagram will help the stakeholders? Anyone? Priyanka?
Ma'am, Arjun, ma'am.
Yes, Arjun.
Yeah, ma'am. Through the activity diagram, we can understand the process, ma'am, from the beginning to end. So in the
From the
activity,
beginning to the end. So how activity diagram is different from the use case? In what way?
ma'am, use case diagram, we are defining that what process is going to be done with one user to another user. In activity diagram, we'll see the complete process, ma'am. Like beginning from the end. Like if I'm developing some software, like beginning, there is a symbols for activity diagram for initialization and ending also. And there, ma'am, like I'm
Yes.
mentioning each and everything in activity diagram, but in use case diagram we are representing only between the two people, like two peoples or three peoples, like three functions or three activities, like that, ma'am.
Yes. If the system, unmute yourself, Arjun. So in a use case, what happens? We are trying to identify how different stakeholders or different actors are going to interact with the system. When they are interacting with the system, we can represent the entire system in a different manner, right? So without we can when we are trying to represent complex use cases, so we have come across a different behaviors, right? That is, it can be a include, it can be a extends or a generalization. So when we are trying to utilize the advanced concept of a use cases, then what happens? Our application will become a complex task. So when the systems is represented as a complex process or a complex system, what happens? The end stakeholder or an end user may not be able to understand how the system is going to work. He will be not able to understand who are the users for a layman who is new to a particular application. That's the reason instead of only the use case diagram for representing any application, what we need to do, we need to represent an activity diagram. In activity diagram, what happens? In activity diagram, what happens? We are not identifying who are the users, but instead we are trying to deal how the entire system is being working, right? From which is the starting process and which is the ending process, and how the entire process will be carried on. That is, we are trying to identify the flow of a system with respect to the activity diagram. So that is the difference between a use case diagram and an activity diagram. That's the reason it is very simple. If you want to present your application, how it is going to work, it is as simple as that you need to represent with respect to the activity diagram. So any layman or any people who is not known to an application, he can understand how the system is going to work easily. Okay. Next thing is organize the actors and a use case. That means what we have for any application, we have considered different actors, different use cases. So when we are representing the actors and the use cases, we need to map those things, right? Which actor is going to interact with the which use case. You cannot create an association, or you cannot create a relationship between every actor for all the use cases. We need to identify how each individual user is going to interact with the different use cases. That relationship has to be created. So that is the meaning of organizing the actors and the use case. Next, check against the domain class model. So how do you identify whether whatever the use case model that you have written or an activity model you have written, it is correct. So whatever the static model that we have taken, right? So the class model is a static model. When we have taken a class, when we have considered a class model, what we need to do, we need to identify which are the classes, what are the attributes and the operations that has been included. When we have represented the use case, we need to identify what are the operations that has been suggested or that has been included in the class model. So those operations will be considered as a functionalities in our use case model. That's the reason we need to have a cross reference or a cross check when we are trying to model the use case. Next thing is determining the system boundary. So how can you determine a system boundary? You need to identify. Say for example, you are trying to develop an application, and that application, say for example, the application for managing the student information, right? When you are trying to include a student information, you are trying to identify what are the things that you need to put up in a application. So it can be a semester, it can be a courses. So the complete entire biodata of students can be represented. So if you are including everything, it will become a vast. So what you can do, you can confine that. That means when you are trying to open a student information system, we need to get which student, which semester, and what are his performance in a previous semester. So you are trying to summarize it. That means we need to confine the system within a particular boundary. And next thing is, once the boundary has been determined, next thing is we need to identify the black box. So what do you mean by black box testing and white box testing? What is a black box? You have come across in testing, right? Sunil? Sunil?
Yes, ma'am.
What is black box? Yes, answer to my question, Sunil. What is black box? Okay, we have two different categories, right? We have come across two different categories. One is the black box and one more is a white box. So that black box and white box, we have seen, we have come across those topics in a testing, right? Black box testing, white box testing. So here what we have represented, we are treating the system as a black box. So why not what we can understand this by black box? We are trying to identify whatever the process that are happening internally within a system. So those internal operation will not be visible to the external user. How the process is going to happen, how the components are interacting with each other. So if you have represented the web pages, so how the web pages will be opened. So how it converts the IP host address to the IP address. So how it is going to convert. So how the pages can be fetched. So all these details will be not seen to the external user. But whatever the request that we are trying to provide, all the requests will be accepted, right? So that is what we call it as a black box. So here, once we have taken a system, so when a user is identified, when the user want to see the entire process, so that will be not seen to the outside world. So whatever the requests that are happening, whatever the application that has been developed, so that will be taken care internally. That is, we are trying to provide a security. So we can say it has an abstract. You can see only the overview, what user is requesting, only that functionalities will be executed. Say for example, if there is an app to calculate the EMI for a particular user, he is giving his data, how much loan he has taken and how much he need to repay the loan per year. For that there is an app, loan repayment app. Okay, so it can give an application. So what happens when he is providing the details, how much, what is the principal amount and what is the time duration that he has taken. So per year he want to calculate what is the EMI. When all these details has been entered by the user, when he click on a calculate button, So what happens? That calculate behind the calculate button, the entire process is going to happen. It will identify. It is going to calculate. It performs the action and it will bring back the only the result. So how the entire process is there? Rather, what is the coding behind the calculate is there? Calculate button is there. So that will be hidden. So that what we call it as the black box. So next thing is we need to trying to find the actors. So how do I find the actors for any system? So we have already identified the boundary of the system. We have confined the system and we need to identify who are the users. We need to identify. So the actors can be of humans, they can be an external devices, or it can be a software system. So these things are represented as an actors. Next thing is preparing the normal scenario. When we are dealing with the scenario, we are identifying how the interaction is going to happen between the objects. So how whatever the events or whatever the interactions are there, so those interactions we are trying to identify with respect to a particular time. Say for example, we have taken an example of a ATM case study. In ATM case study, we have a initiate session. In an initiate session, so how the ATM system is going to perform or what is its operation? Okay, in an initiate operation, the ATM will ask the user to insert a card. Okay, when the user inserts a card, then it will identify the card number and who is the user. It will display the user name. Okay, then it will ask once the system reads the card with respect to the card number, then what the system will do, it will ask for the user to enter the password. The user is going to enter the password. Once the password is entered by the user, what happens? It will communicate with the consortium and the bank. Okay, it will identify or it will verify the serial number, that is the debit card number and the password, whether it is matching. If it matches, then what the ATM machine will do, it is going to display the menu. If if the user is providing the wrong password, then what happens? It will ask the user to recheck or re-enter the password. So if multiple attempts are being done with the wrong password, then what happens? The system identifies that the person is a fraud. He may be a fraud and the account will enter into the log state. So that is how the initiate session is going to work. Okay, next thing is adding the variations and exceptions. So we have defined, we have prepared a typical use cases. We are trying to identify what is the what type of input that we need to provide, what is the maximum value and what is the minimum value, right? Say for example, when we have taken a ATM card and when the user tried to insert, when the user has inserted the ATM card, first the card serial number will be read by the machine. So here what happens, the exception scenario can be the ATM card cannot be read by the machine. So what could be the reasons? The whatever the card that the user is having, whether the card may be expired or when the card is valid and the password is verified, but the user want to withdraw the cash. Okay, so whatever the cash is there, so the cash what he is requesting, it is more than a minimum balance. Okay, since the customer has to maintain a minimum balance, if it is going out of the balance, then what happens? It will say that it is a invalid. The transaction will be cancelled. And one more variation or one more exception that has to be added to the model is machine out of the cache. So username, whatever the validation that has been done, user is verified, is verified the amount he has requested. But what happens? Whatever the amount that he has requested, so there can be insufficient funds that are available in a machine, or sometimes the machine does not have a cash. It may be running out of the cash. So these are the exceptions. So these exceptions has to be included in a scenario or in a use case itself. Next thing is we need to find the external events. So the external events indicates that what type of inputs that has to be provided by the user. So how the system can be interrupted and how the interaction is going to happen, right? So here, what are the external events? The external events can be like insertion a card. After inserting the card, the user is going to provide the password. He is entering the amount. So these are the external events. That means the system has to identify what are the external events with respect to the application that has to be considered. So here we have a different objects. Can you see the diagram? Ramya? Here we have a user, ATM, consortium, and a bank. Okay. Here what happens? The ATM will display the menu for the user. Okay. So once the menu is being displayed, assuming that the user is validated after inserting the card, the user is verified. So once the user is verified, so next what happens? The ATM is going to display the menu. Okay, so first the system is going to display the menu for the user. Then the user will select the option from the menu, that is withdrawal. Then the user is going to select the amount, and once the amount is being selected, then ATM will request for the amount. So enter the amount. The user is going to enter the amount. So once the amount is being entered, once the amount is being entered by the user, next what happens? The ATM will send the details to the bank consortium to verify whether the customer is having the sufficient funds. Okay. Later, the bank consortium will send the details of the customer and his request to the corresponding bank. So what happens? The bank is going to verify whether that particular user is having a sufficient fund, and it will confirm the fund. If the fund is confirmed, it will be sent back to the ATM through the consortium, and it is going to display the cash, and the user is going to take the cash from the ATM machine. So this is how the system is going to work. Okay, so next is we have seen how the system is going to be interacted. We need to write the scenarios. So this is a diagram which tells you how the events has to be written with respect to the case study. We have a user, ATM, consortium, and a bank. So here you can see what the user is going to perform. So the user can insert the card, enter the password, select the account, select deposit, withdrawal, transfer fund, query the account, okay, take the cash, take the card, cancel, and terminate. Or even he can continue the transaction. So these are the different operations that will be carried out by the user to the ATM machine. So now what the ATM, what are the different responses from the ATM to the user? Okay. So ATM is going to display the screen. Okay. It is going to identify unreadable card, whether the messages are cancelled, It will request for the password from to the user. It will request the amount, eject the card, failure messages, dispense the cash, request for taking the cash, print the receipt, request for continuation of the transaction. It will ask the user to take the card, bad account message, bad bank code message, and display the transaction memo. So these are the actions or the events that will be carried out by the ATM with respect to the user. Now, what are the different actions that can be taken care with respect to the ATM and the consortium? So it will process for the transaction for the consortium. It will ask the consortium to verify the fund and verify the account. And what the consortium will do? The consortium will identify the confirmation of the fund. If there is any bad bank code, that is, the bank code may not be relevant. The bad account, that is, the account may be not working or account may be in a suspended. Bad password, then account, if the account is okay, it will allow for a transaction to be continued or the transaction will be paid. So these are the events that will be taken care from the consortium to the ATM. Next, from consortium to the bank, what are the events that are going to happen? It is going to verify the card with respect to the bank. It is going to verify the fund. Then it will process the bank transaction. So these are the events that will be carried out with respect to the consortium to the bank. So what the bank is going to do? So bank transaction, whether the bank transaction, if the bank transaction is succeeded, it is going to confirm the fund to the consortium. So whatever the amount that the user has requested, so he has a sufficient account, so the transaction can be confirmed. And next thing is bank transaction failed. So if there is no network within our bank, so what happens? The transaction may be failed. Or if the customer is not having the sufficient account to transfer the fund, then the transaction will be failed. Next, the bank account. Okay, that is, it will verify the bank, and if the customer is having the account with respect to that particular bank, it will say okay. Then the bad bank account. So the account may be in a suspended or the account may be in a closed, but the user is trying to operate. Next, bad bank password. So if the user is providing the wrong password, then it will go with respect to the bad bank password. Okay, so the next thing is card verification. So how the card verification is going to happen? Dev Malya is there? Yes, Neelanjan. Neelanjan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you say, can you tell me the process of verification of ATM card? Okay, we have a initiation. Okay, after the initiation, so the first thing is the card has to be inserted. So this rhombus or a diamond symbol indicates the verification. Okay, once a card is being inserted by the user, if it is readable, then it will go to the next process. So what happens? It has to go for a verification of a bank code. So if the card is okay, then what happens? It will go to the next process that is if the account is good or if account is in a working state, then it will request for a password. So if the password is correct, then it will allow for the further transaction. Okay, so what is the other way? The card is being inserted, but the card is not readable. Then what happens? The card will be ejected from the machine and the user has to keep the card. And the next thing is, if the card accepts, okay, if it is a readable, then what happens? It has to verify the bank code or the bad account. So if the bank code is not verifiable or a account is a bad account, then it will eject the card. The customer has to keep the card. Next, if the card is okay, then it is verifying whether the account is good. So what happens? The other way, when a communication is being performed, so what happens if there is communication down? That is, if there is no network, again it will return the card. If the account is good, but if the communication line is down, then what happens? It will return the card. That is, if there is no network. If once the request password is being reached, once the card is being given, but it is not connecting to the server, then what happens? It will return the card. Next, if the user is providing the multiple password, then what happens? It will be taken as a suspected fraud and the card will be ejected. So this is how the entire activity diagram has to be represented from the for the active ATM system. Okay, next what we have a organizing the actors and the use case. So this is one of the major concern, that who are the users who are going to interact with the system. Okay, we have taken the example of a ATM case study. So we need to identify who are the users. So the users or the actors are the customers, bank, and the consortium. So these are the three actors. So what the customer will do? The customer, there are different use cases. That is, initiate session, query account, process transaction, and transmit data. So you can observe here, when it reaches the initiate session, this initiate session includes all these use cases. That is, the query account, the process account, and the transmit data. So without initiate session, so these accounts, these functionalities cannot be performed without the initiation of the session. So why here all the three users are involved or associated with the initiate session? So the customer inserts the card and the bank and the consortium has to verify the customer account and the bank code and all the other details. So that's the reason here what happens, the initiate session is being associated with all the three actors. So what happens? Once the session has been initiated, that is, it will verify the user, it will request for the password. If the password is okay, then what happens? It will display the menu. Okay, once the menu is being displayed, the customer can query the account. That means he can request for a mini statement, what are the transactions that has been carried for a particular period of time. And next is process transaction. When it comes for a process transaction, the customer might have requested for an amount withdrawal. So when it goes for an amount withdrawal, it will go to the consortium and the bank and it will verify whether the sufficient fund is available with the customer. If it is going to, if the user is having the sufficient fund, then what happens? It is going to transmit the data. So once the initiate session is being done, then again it will transmit the data to the server. So this is how we can organize the use cases and the actors. And next thing is application class model. So we need to identify what are the different steps that are necessary for using the application class model. So for the these steps are: specify the user interface, define the boundary class, define the controllers, and check against the interaction modeling. So these are the steps that we need to carry out. So when you say a user interface, okay, what is an user interface? What's a user interface? Srinidhi? Srinidhi? Can we say that has a GUI which is represented for the external user, through where the user is going to interact with the system with the help of a user interface. So this user interface has to be clear without any ambiguous. So this is a user interface of a ATM system. So the numbers and the commands are provided here. So there is a menu for collecting the receipt, and there is a place where the user can collect the cash. So this is how the GUI looks for a ATM system. Okay. So we have a with respect to the application, we can represent a class model. Okay, we have a user interface, we have a consortium interface, and we have a cash card boundary, account boundary, problem type, controller problem, session controller, remote transaction, cash card, account, ATM session, and the transaction controller. So these are the different names of the class that we are identifying with respect to the application class model. So when we say application class model, so there can be n number of cash card boundary associated with the n number of account boundary. So when you say a cash boundary, when a user is trying to withdraw a cash, so it has to verify the bank code, card code, the serial number that appears on the card, and the password provided by the user, and the limit how much the user can withdraw, and the name of the bank. So these are the attributes that are necessary for having a cash or to make a cash transaction. So this cash is associated with the particular account. So it will be identified if a person want to make a cash transaction, it should be associated with the account. So when it comes for an account, so the account is referred with respect to a particular bank name and a bank code, and the account number, the balance that a customer is having, or what is the total credit that he can keep in his account, the type of an account, whether it is a savings or a current account, the name of a bank, the name of a customer, and the customer address. So these are the details that has to be maintained in a account boundary. So next thing is a problem type. So when the customer is using the credit card, so what happens? There can arise a different types of problem. Say for example, the card may be invalid. Though the card is valid, it may not be accepting the password. The password or the card may not be activated. So the name of the problem has to be specified by the user. So for one problem, it will be moved to the n number of controller problem. So it will identify when the problem was being taken and whether it is solved or not. It can be a status, or it can be a suggestion at when the suggestion was given or when the problem has been solved. Next thing is session controller. So n number of controller problem will send the will send to the one session controller, and the session controller has to resolve the problem. So to identify whether the problem is resolved or not, it will be identified through the status. So it can have n number of ATM sessions. Okay, so when we are referring to the ATM session, so this ATM session is associated with the cash card and the account. Okay, so if the cash card is in an active state, then what happens? The customer can make a transaction, and when a customer performs a transaction, it appears in which ATM station that a customer has made the transaction, at what time, and what is the date. So all these details will be stored in a ATM session. Next thing is account class. When it comes for a account class, so if the account is in an active state, so when the transaction, when he is trying to communicate with the system, all these details will be taken care with respect to the ATM session. So since this ATM transaction is a remote transaction, so the remote transaction will be identified whether the transaction is an active transaction or not. So if there is no communication line down, so the customer can insert the card and he can perform the transaction. So this is how we are trying to represent the application class model. So the next thing is application state model. We need to identify what are the different steps that are available with respect to the application state model. So the first thing is we need to determine the application classes with states. Already we have identified which are the classes. Okay, so once the classes has been represented, so through the names of the classes, we are representing the events. We need to try to find what are the different states that are available. So once the state has been identified, within that particular state, what are the events that are going to happen. So we need to determine, or we need to find the events. So once the states and event has been identified, what is the next step? We need to build the state diagram. So how to build the state diagram? So we can refer the other state diagrams. So with reference to the other state diagrams for similar application, we can build. Next, one more is check against the class model. So we have already developed a class model with reference to the class model. So which are the objects? So by using the objects, we can we can consider the state model. Next is check against the interaction model. So to check against the interaction model, what we are identifying? We are identifying different functionalities or the scenarios or the entire process that can be represented. So by using all the steps, we can construct the state model. So any doubts up to here? Any doubts up to here?